Welcome back. Roundtable Top 100 20 to 26-year-olds' favorite movies of all time considered best. I don't know. Clearly, we should have let a group come together and build the top 20 and then send it in, and then the rest of us could, because even me, I love some of these movies. Some were on my top 100. They're not the best films of all time, but we're here and we're discussing them. This is one of the most least. I love some of these movies, but it's really hard as we get higher and higher to talk about like in the realm of best. But we bought people that are not critical at all on movies. They like everything that comes out, and they don't have big opinions. And Kirk's here again, and Kirk has no problems with best at all because we just passed Scream, so you should be good, right?
Probably not.
Okay.
I mean, this was such a good idea in theory when we talked about it, but I don't think we put enough thought into who this community is.
We should have resubmitted. Like, we should have made people resubmit.
Yeah, we should have vetted a little better, but it is what it is. Let's have some fun.
The next poll I'll put out, I've already got some brainstorms, but hopefully we get that closer. Next up, Payson Johnson, also known as Boatman 2.0. How are you? And how was your viewing experience for these?
Boatman with facial hair is how I always call it. 1774, the first American Continental Congress was established, and in that the founding fathers decided, you know what? Are the people smart enough to decide who truly deserves to be in power? I think we need to form the Electoral College. Doing this poll, doing this series, I'm starting to understand those decisions a little bit more, is all I'm going to say.
Yeah. And I'll be honest, it doesn't get a whole lot better. Like, me and Kirk are really excited for like the top 15, but it's like a year and a half away at this point.
Yeah, we got a lot of crap to sort through before.
I really liked all these movies. Just
sure.
Let's see.
Next up, Spence. Spence famously has cats at 5 stars. So, and you, I think, are part of the problem. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. I'll have to look back at everybody's list. But how was your viewing experience, and how are you?
3 of these are in my top 100. For the record, it was only a top 10 submissions, though, right?
Top 20.
Top 20. Okay. I believe still only one of these made my list. 2 of them might have. I believe it was just one, though.
That's right.
I had a good week. I am here to be the Mike Hanley this week. Mostly.
Dylan, he loves slapstick comedies and goofy action movies, so I pulled him out to judge these. This ain't no 7 Seal. By the way, did not make the list. I want that on the record for you. This is not on our top 100. That's your favorite movie of all time, right?
Yeah.
So, shout out to, and you're also famously not a big movie rewatcher. We've discussed. So, was any of these fresh watches for you? Cause I like Dylan more than you, so I'm asking more hard hitting questions for Dylan than the rest of you. But was any of these first time watches, or was this like a second viewing?
No, this is first for me for Roundtable, where it was all movies that I had previously seen. So one of them I actually watched like a week before I got added to this, but so I didn't rewatch that one because it was already very fresh in my mind. But yeah, the other 4 I'm excited to talk about. Yeah, it's funny. Kirk, I think normally we have very similar taste in movies. I feel like with most movies, this episode's going to put that to the test, I think. So yeah.
Yeah. There's a movie that I was famously messaged after watching it and was told, hey, I can explain it to you if you didn't get it. So that's never set well with me, still to this day. And let me tell you, understanding was not the problem. All right, so we will talk about the first one. The first one on the list tonight is Jon Favreau's Chef. Let me get this out of the way. I love this movie. I have a lot of fun with this movie. I want that Cuban sandwich now. The problem is you're fucking high if you think this is one of the best movies of all time. You just are. I think it's fine for what it does. I think it's goofy in the right parts. I think it has the right heart in certain points. But for Jon Favreau and John Leguizamo to be on your list to be in the best movie, that's a special bar that I just don't think can possibly be cleared. I watched this again. Again, I have a smile on my face. I enjoy it through and through. It's a very good comfort movie, I would say. Like, I like putting this on. I like enjoying. I like the father-son dynamic like that is put to this movie. I love Dustin Hoffman, and I love the molten cake scene. Like, it's fucking molten. Like, that's hilarious. Like, right? If you've ever worked in a food industry, he's like a person that we all wish we were at one point to one customer whatsoever. So there's great points. I just don't know. This is a favorite that got to the list. And that's just my take on it. It's a favorite that got on the best of all time. There's just like Dog Day Afternoon is sitting on the outside and Chef is here. It just I get if Dog Day's not your cup of tea, but like even if you sit there objectively and set up cross, like separate, they're just made different. Like there's quality and different stuff. So everybody saw Chef prior to this, I'm guessing.
Well, it's my first watch.
Oh, okay. Then we will definitely go to Payson first. So Payson, first time viewing Chef. I bet you've been in this community long enough. You've probably heard the praise of this movie quite a bit at this point. What was your overall takes on the first time watch? And then under the lenses of best of all time, where are you standing?
Yeah, this is a movie, obviously, I've heard a lot of praise from, and watching this in a vacuum, like if I had just decided, like, hey, I'm just going to put this movie on, which my rating is technically going to reflect that, I really liked it. I think Jon Favreau is telling a fairly heartfelt story. I love the relationship between him and John Leguizamo. Like, I'm really happy that Leguizamo's character stays with him throughout the entire movie, and just the sort of like brotherhood element that they form, and Favreau's like relationship with his son, I think, is a lot of fun. Really interesting cameos. You can tell that Favreau's calling in every single favor and every single person that he's got along with in the past. Like, that's how he gets Robert Downey Jr. That's how he gets Scarlett Johansson. I think that's super fun. Maybe the most delicious grilled cheese I think I've ever seen in my life. Like, just looking at it, I was like, my gosh, I want to taste that.
That pasta at the beginning too is just
just very oh, my gosh. I think like I wasn't like the most invested in like Favreau's relationship with his ex-wife. Maybe would have liked it a little bit more if like they didn't end up together at the end. I think that felt a little bit tacked on. Most of my issues with the movie does kind of come with like, I think Favreau just realized like, oh right, I have to end this movie at one point. Just the finale just feels very like in like the perfect bow that I think it might have benefited being like a little messier. I think the movie's probably the most interesting when you realize that it is Favreau making a comment on his career, like how he starts off in the big fine dining restaurant, which was him commenting on going to make like Iron Man and Iron Man 2 and Cowboys and Aliens, and then going back to the food truck and then sort of getting back into independent cinema. And I think that's where like the most of my enjoyment comes from the movie. So overall, I did enjoy the movie, but I think like with what you said, I think looking at this film as one of the greatest films of all time, I'm just like, really? Like, this is what we're doing? And I'm just like I think it's a nice, real feel-good movie, but I'm just thinking like, how does this like push the boundaries of cinema? How is this like the apex of what movies can be with this, which is what I thought we were all trying to do with our list. And I'm sure some people are going to be far more harsh with what they say, but like that was of all the movies this week, this is the one where I'm like, this has no business being on a top 100 list. Like, I think it's a very fun, really good movie, but top 100, absolutely not.
Yeah, I guess I'll go next. I feel similar. I've seen this movie before. I enjoyed it, and I tried not to let the context of I'm watching it ruin it for me. And it didn't, because it's still a really good movie. I think Favreau's. It's a great road trip movie. It's a great father-son movie. It's a great food movie. when a movie can make you this hungry and like feel nostalgic about food that you're not even that familiar with. I think it's really doing a great job. And like Payson said, it's really interesting to watch. Just you could see it's like a 1-for-1. Like the restaurant is Disney, and the food truck is indie movies that he started out in. And when the scene where Hoffman comes in, he's like, "Oh, so you want to be an artist now, huh?" And it's like, okay, I see what you're saying here. And so it just really, just kind of, it's like I said, it's like a very apples to apples comparison. I think it's a cool way to do it too. Like it's very, interesting way to apply that metaphor. And Hoffman is fantastic. Hoffman is so good. I've watched like 3 movies that he's in like the past couple weeks. And anytime he shows up, he's just one of those guys that elevates the film. Like it immediately gets better, regardless of his role. Like this isn't a real meaty, like saucy role that he's doing. He's basically just like the boss of the restaurant. But he's so good, and his scenes with Favreau in the kitchen are just fantastic. I think Favreau is a really good actor too, and I think he really holds his own with them. I think he does a really good job portraying that, those early scenes where he's real tense and, where he has the freak out. And even before that, of just like kind of like trying to make the decision of what kind of chef he wants to be, what kind of cook he wants to be, what kind of work he wants to do. And I think it's a great movie. Again, I don't believe it is a really oddball to be here. It's definitely not one of probably the top 10 worst movies to be on this list. But I think I don't, it's just odd that, especially like I could see like one person put it high, but obviously multiple people had it here. So, and again, like I said, I don't think it belongs here. I'm not going to badmouth this movie like I would some others. But yeah, it's good. And I think it's really interesting, like to go back, even, I think it's just 10 years old, and like to have somebody who's like so unfamiliar with like social media and phone usage and things like that. It's a funny little time capsule that way too. But overall, top 100, no. Decent movie, yes.
Yeah, I think I'll go next because I'm assuming Adelaide's probably going to be the most positive out of all of us. But this was I think definitely the weirdest one on the list for me when I saw it, because it is a good movie. This is like one of those like movies that I'd call like disposably good, because like there's like I think 100 other movies that do this exact same kind of story and do it, in my opinion, better. But it still does this story like good. Like it's a very good, engaging, and like funny, lighthearted film. But like I don't know, it's just like not super memorable for me. Also, I like the metaphor about Disney. Also, some of the stuff I'm not crazy about. Like I always hate, as just a general rule, there are some exceptions, but I hate when directors complain about critics in their movies and put like critic character into their movies just so they could rant. And I think in this one, it's like particularly annoying because Oliver Platt's character is supposed to be like the most respected food critic ever. And he's just like in his reviews, just like shit talking the chef and like not even making it about the food, just like saying that he's like fat and like eating all the food that comes back to the kitchen. It's like, okay, like this is clearly like, I get it, like you're sensitive about your art and stuff, but like it's the way it like paints critics is just like weird and annoying. And it's like, okay, Favreau, we get it, you've made Cowboys and Aliens, like whatever. Like and then it becomes confusing by the end where he ends up being like helping him in the end, but not really necessarily like it ends up like he ends up not really making a very strong stance either way. So it's like, well, why was that even a part of the movie? I don't know. It was weird. But yeah, obviously the food stuff is great. Like there's some great cinematic shots of food in here that look fantastic and made me want to throw my like bowl of popcorn at the wall and get like a steak or something. But yeah, it was good. Good film overall. Yeah, shouldn't have been on here, but it was enjoyable.
This is very high in my top 100. I think from my personal perspective, it's best to remove it from the context of this show, because it's like, oh, what is the mathematically best movie of all time? What fits here? That's not a discussion that I find myself super engaged with. Like, obviously, I submitted a list, and I obviously different between like high art and like stupid shit that I like. But I do think there's a lot to be said here of like, this is a very efficient film. I think that everything it's like a lot of things that it's doing are the best it can, specifically the food. I think is fucking incredible. I've made like 3 or 4 dishes from the movie. I've made the Cubanos. They're fucking amazing. If y'all have like 3 days, do it. It's so worth it.
Nope.
You gotta like marinate the pork shoulder in like a mojo marinade.
Yeah,
for
I never have 3 days for anything. Nope.
It takes time, but it's worth it. I think the performances are all also really good. They're not winning any Oscars, but there's no point where I'm like, oh, I don't believe that he's doing this, or this doesn't feel this doesn't feel genuine. I think everyone is doing a really great job. The road trip is really sweet. I don't love all the time this idea of like, oh, I'm a shitty person. Oh, I guess like if I do one thing, I'll be better. Like it feels like there's some times where I feel like redemption arc isn't earned, and I think Favreau actually does put the work in because it truly was just like he's distracted, he's treated like shit, and now that he has time to find out like where did he go wrong initially, rather than just being a new person, retraces his steps and grows from that point. And I think that's actually really sweet. The Twitter stuff is like, like I get it, it's a little old, a little cringe to speak like Twitter. But it's still like a really good time. It's just one of the movies that like it for me it like transcends like glup shit out MCU Star Wars stuff of like there is genuine entertainment here, but it's not devoid of art or heart or any part of like genuineness in the creation itself. It is just really sweet and fun, and also like they're just chilling out, cleaned a food truck, drinking a beer when you're like fucking 10, like. This is a movie for dads, so I'm shocked that like it should be this high. Shout out to dads.
There's not enough dads in this community. Yeah. My whole thing. I think this is an important lesson, and I think people like need to. Again, they don't have to realize they can submit whatever the hell they want. That's how the kind of world works. But I like everybody treats their letterbox different, and that's fine. But like I give things 5 stars. But those 5 stars are separated in my brain of like best of all time versus my favorites. Like I'm going to give a 5-star movie to my favorite movie, but I can be rational and tell you I love Guardians of the Galaxy. Guardians of the Galaxy isn't one of the best movies of all time. Like I think there's a difference where you sit in there, you have that thing, and I just don't know if everybody's grabbed that because like again, I'll watch Speed over some of the best movies of all time. Mm-hmm. It's not going to make a list. And the good news is, like, I get to sit here and throw rocks at everybody because I didn't submit a list. I have no dog in any of this fight. Everybody did this separately. But I think it's just interesting where you go. And and if you thought those are one of your favorite movies of all, or those are the best created movies of all time, that's also not fine. But you're entitled to your opinion, man. I don't know. Like that's where I'm at.
But where is Fever Pitch in your like top 20 you submitted?
That's not.
But the Red Sox.
Listen, that's the
pre-call.
That's like the difference. But like I love like there are movies that I am objectively fond of. Like I love Varsity Blues. I grew up with Varsity Blues. I watch Varsity Blues. I have a lot of fun with it. Is it one of the best movies of all time? You would be fucking nuts to think that. It's just not.
Kirk, I know you love this movie just as much as I do. Was Napoleon Dynamite anywhere close to sniffing your top 20?
No.
Exactly, yeah. Me neither.
No, I mean, here's my thing. Like, I'm not going to badmouth this movie. Like, I'm going to like this was not the movie I will talk the worst about today.
This is not. This is just me and Kirk after weeks of this. This is nothing to do with Chef.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean,
all the President's Men is sitting behind this right now. Like that's where like it's crazy.
If you go back and watch past episodes, you'll see me complain much more vehemently about a lot of movies that are on the list. I'm not going to say I'm not saying it's a bad movie, but I think this isn't a knock against it. There's millions of movies out there. There's so many movies better than this that that this being here is just like I said. It's weird. Like I'm not going to say it's the worst thing that's ever happened or it's a travesty because there are movies on this list that are a travesty and they're much worse than this.
Some person did put this as their second movie on the list.
So
I mean, it's probably Brooklyn. But here's the thing. I think like the thesis for this is a top tier TNT movie that will just come on a fucking Thursday night and you watch.
I don't know if I agree with that
thing.
The Shawshank Redemption, you scrub.
I said it's number one. I said it's top tier. It's in the.
When I think of, when I think of the ultimate TNT movie, it is the Shawshank Redemption. Like this is the guarantee.
But if we're talking
I don't disagree. I don't disagree. This is a movie. If it was on and I caught I missed the first 30 minutes, I'm going to sit there and probably watch the rest of it. I also just refuse to watch anything with commercials, so that the new wave has changed me. I think that's fine. I think, again, I want to make this very clear. This has zero things to do with Chef. This is to do with the overall list. Because let me tell you, there are worse submissions higher. Way higher. So we'll get to that later. We're going to get star ratings on Chef. Again, star ratings don't have to be impacted on, based on this list. It's how you feel in your own personal. I'm 4.5. Again, this is one of those movies I will pop on. I don't like the Robert Downey Jr. shit. I don't like the wife. I don't like that bullshit that they throw in there. But all the Favreau stuff and the inside the restaurant, outside the restaurant, I have a lot of fun with. So maybe the less powdering of the balls, but that's just personal. Payson.
Yeah, I'm going to give it 4 stars. Again, I really liked the movie. I just had to look at it through the lens, but I'm excited to one day rewatch this not having to look through the lens because I do think it is a really enjoyable movie.
That's why I quit YLS, because you have to look through everything with a lens. It's rough. Spence.
I just double-checked. It is number 42 on my top 100. Not going to say it's one of the best movies ever. It is
probably similar for me.
Fucking 5 stars. I will happily rewatch this literally tonight if we wanted to. It's so good.
I'll go Kirk, and then I'll go Dylan, because Dylan's lower.
Great movie. I've watched this with Kathy, and it's a rare movie that we both enjoyed pretty much equally. I'm a big fan of Favreau going back to Swingers, and I really enjoyed seeing him kind of play this kind of character more like something of himself. I always think that's fun. So this is 4 stars for me.
Dylan.
I don't know if I mentioned this, but I actually like this movie. I'll give this a 3.5. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good movie, like I said, overall. And I mean, it was nice to see Favreau go back to his indie roots before fucking off back to Disney and making The Jungle Book and The Lion King back to back. But yeah.
Well, I will try to create the next ones to be more free flowing. We kind of did station to station, and I hate doing that. So let's talk about more of a roundtable style on this one. This is one where me and Kirk will be divided as far as the East is from the West. It's Singin' in the Rain. I think arguably one of the greatest musicals of all time. I enjoy. It's pure joy on screen. Kirk, why do you hate happiness?
I don't hate happiness. I'm glad you can take joy from such basic and ridiculous places. I'm watching this movie, and I tried honestly. There's two movies in this on today's episode that I famously do not like, and with both of them, I tried. I'm going to sit down and try to get the full experience and appreciate and try to find what everybody else sees in it. Rewatching it, did it go up a little bit for me? Maybe, but it's still. I mean, I'm watching the opening credits and it says inspired by the song Singin' in the Rain. And I said, that sounds exactly right. Because you have one really good song, Singin' in the Rain, and then a bunch of really mid filler. And very much like a story that the story to me is interesting, but it's just there to string these random kind of mediocre songs on. And yeah, it's fine. I cannot see, best movie of all time. One of the best movies of all time is crazy. I don't even see best musical. I don't think it's that great of a musical. I think the music might be the weakest part of it. But I can't get on board with this one. I'm not seeing everybody. Obviously it stood the test of time. There's something to it. I'm just not picking up whatever it's laying down.
You don't like Make 'Em Laugh?
No.
You don't like Moses Supposes?
Wait. I like
the choreography of Moses Supposes. I like the choreography is good. But the song is just stupid nonsense.
Make 'Em Laugh?
Pause. Listen, if you're going to come to the defense of Singin' in the Rain and you look at Kirk Kowalkowski and ask, you don't like Make 'em Laugh, you have just mumbled our opening statement.
Ping, 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 ping.
Jackie Chan wishes he was Donald O'Connor.
Okay, let's not go too far.
I mean, yeah, it's. I mean, obviously he worked hard on that, but like,
no,
I didn't laugh. He's thinking about making him laugh, and I didn't laugh once. So, mission not accomplished.
Okay, so I don't 100% disagree with you on the music aspects a little bit. I can see how these musical notes don't click for everybody. That would make perfect. I think that's a musical in general. Because, like, there could be some of the greatest musicals, but if you don't like the kind that they're presenting, like, it's not going to mesh with you. And I think that's fair. Again, and I don't have the answer to this. But, like, I don't know how much nostalgia plays into this for me versus not. Like, because I can't erase those feelings from the past. Like, I just can't. When there's movies out there that you have this tie to, there's no explanation for it. They just make you feel a certain way and you enjoy it. So I can't watch this in fresh eyes ever. Like, I can't go to Kirk's life and say, let me see what Kirk sees. No, I see happiness and joy when I'm watching this because I've watched this with my grandmother. I've watched this with my family. Like, we gravitated towards this movie and we've sang the songs and we have that emotional thing. And I think nostalgia is a very powerful thing, especially when it comes to movies. Like, that's just the facts. Like, what's your famous Kirk? There's one that you're Sandlot, right? Like, you're like, yes. You're nostalgic about the Sandlot if you like the Sandlot. I think that's a little ridiculous, but I see where you're coming from, because if you watch that at a certain formative age, things could change. I love this movie, but I could see if you have not grew up with this movie and you turn on this movie for the first time, I don't know if you can just, that works for me. And I also think you split the field 100% down the line because of a musical. There are groups out there would never watch a musical if you had to pay them. Like, they hate musicals. Like Mark Menchaca put it in trivia. He will not watch musicals. He would rather just lose than watch one. I think that's crazy, but that's how he is. So we can go to everybody. I'm just saying, like, so this is like, I can see Make 'em Laugh not working for something. I can see Good Morning not working. But, like, and again, does this weigh on Singin' in the Rain, the iconic song in the I don't think so. I think there's more to it, but.
And I mean, I will say before everybody else, because that is a fair point, because there are other musicals that I was exposed to at a young age, exposed to the music of it. I came to this one like fully, brand new as an adult. So the musicals that I do like, maybe it would change my opinion on those as well if I discovered those later.
Yeah. Everybody else? Free to jump in and throw some
I will
elbows.
Say, this is like my fourth time seeing it. And I think that we might be a little bit too harsh on the Broadway melody sequence. And this might just be because I talked to multiple people after watching this, and there are just scenes that everyone forgot existed. And it might have just been that on Max, they have like new scenes. It's like a director's cut or whatever. There's multiple scenes that are just pauses for long musical numbers that don't really fucking matter. Like, right after sound is invented, there's a big, like, whoa, look at this colorful, dancing, and crazy hair. Then we don't give a fuck.
Beautiful girls.
And then when they're going to when they go to see Kathy Sullivan on the film set, they do the whole like hot girls sequence, whatever the fuck it is. Like, he's just like, man, I love women, and it's crooning, and it's like, I don't give a shit. This went on for like 5 minutes. Shut the fuck up. But I think that doesn't detract from, like, it is some of my favorite performances in any musicals ever. That core trio is fantastic. I forgot how fucking good Gene Hagen is as just this like weirdly pathetic villain whose main issue is being an actress in Hollywood or just being famous in Hollywood in general, treating everyone like shit and having a bad voice. That's all she did, and she's the devil. Fantastic villain for this era. It's just, I think every part of it is about as good as it can be. There are scenes that can be cut, but when the movie that you're watching is like, when it's good, it's great. I think there are no flaws in the good parts. I just wish that some of the other like broader fill time musical sequences, like we saw with like a lot of Ziegfeld type shows. Just hey, sing and dance, people like that. You cut those, have it like a thinner movie, it's perfection.
Yeah, this might, I think, surprise people given how like my film taste tends to be a bit darker. That for a long time, this was my favorite movie ever, like on number one, and I still hold it in very high regard. It's in my top 100. My favorite musical, probably. Yeah, I love this movie. I think it's like this is my first time watching it since finding out that most of the music was not written for this movie. It was like all previously written songs, and I was like, yeah, that does make a lot of sense because most of the songs have absolutely nothing to do with the plot whatsoever. It's like there'd be a big plot point, and then where they're like, oh, we're going to make it into a musical. We're going to make the movie into a musical. Oh, hey, look, it's morning. Let's sing a song about how it's morning instead. It's like, it's just stuff like that. And it ends up succeeding despite it. And like, I think all the musical numbers are so much fun. And even though like you can argue maybe they don't play a massive part of the plot, they still like enhance it like so much and are just really fun to watch. Yeah, the choreography is amazing. The dance numbers are phenomenal. And yeah, I mean, Donald O'Connor, I think, is giving just an all-time great performance in this. Like, I think he's amazing in this. He's easily the standout for me. But yeah, I still really love this movie, and I'm glad it's been a while since I've seen it, so I'm glad I got the chance to rewatch it.
Yeah, everything I said about Chef of me thinking, I think that has nowhere near a top 100 list. Of all the movies tonight, this is the one that emphatically I think deserves to be in the top 100. This is just a movie that, Cody was talking about like how much nostalgia he thinks nostalgia plays into it. I'll be honest, I did not come into this movie until I was 19, but I still absolutely loved it. Yeah, just how I wish movies today. Yeah, go ahead.
Just correct. I don't think that nostalgia played a factor of people putting this on the list. I just said I don't know how to race what I seen, like how much I love this movie based on nostalgia. Like I can't go in and fresh anymore. Yeah.
I just the visuals and how colorful this movie is. Like I love the Technicolor feel that so many movies from the 50s have, and I think I just wish we could go back to that. I'm just making just like visuals pop like that. I think that's so well done. Yeah, everyone's talked about it. All four of the main performances are perfect in every way. I'm with Dylan. Donald O'Connor is easily my favorite. Like, find me 5 better comedic performances than that. I think he's just absolutely spectacular. Watching the make him laugh sequence, I put a BPS monitor on that man. I just want to know what his heartbeat is going at because I am getting tired watching that. Gene Hagen, like just some of the funniest lines ever of like, I cannot make love to a bush when they're like trying to get her to just hold her head still. I think it's just perfect. The scene where they are still filming the silent movie and both Gene Kelly and Gene Hagen's character are just going off about how much they hate each other. Maybe the funniest line of the movie is where Don's like, well, I'd rather kiss a tarantula than you. And Lena Lamont's like, no, you wouldn't. Oh, give me a tarantula. And just Gene Kelly's delivery of that is so perfect. Gene Kelly, like the perfect amount of charming, like that character could come off so smarmy, but like Gene Kelly is just so likable. Just the dancing from him and Debbie Reynolds and Donald O'Connor is just perfect. I love all the songs. No one's talking about it. Good Morning might be my favorite song number, where they finally crack the code and they realize how. And I know it's just kind of a weird take, but I just can't explain how much of a smile that scene brings me. And yeah, go ahead.
You're discounting Singin' in the Rain as the number?
No,
right?
Okay, good point. Yeah,
Good Morning is second. Okay, that's an insanity take. But
that's fair. And just like there's a reason why that Singin' in the Rain number is so legendary is because Gene Kelly just sells it in such a perfect way. And then yeah, like Spence said, like on rewatch, the Broadway Melody number used to annoy me a lot, but like, does it go on for a while? Yes. Is everything I'm watching kind of incredible? Also, yes. So yeah, this is just a movie that I think it's one of the best musicals of all time. I think it's one of the best romance movies of all time. I think it's one of the funniest movies of all time. I think it's one of the best movies about movie making. Like I know that's not everyone's cup of tea, but there's a reason why this one just feels so accessible because it doesn't go like too deep into it. You just feel like you're watching a moment of history. And I love this movie two pieces.
My problem with the Broadway melody is my problem with the Broadway melody is when I'm watching it, I'm just thinking about the American in Paris ballet and wishing I was watching that.
It's not as good as that. Like I will agree.
So both those scenes have something in common though. Where if I'm rewatching the movie, I can just skip that scene because nothing's fucking happening. And I did that, and I was like, and the reason why the movie will never be 5 stars. Like, is there a problem with that? Yes. I will skip the Broadway melody sequence because nothing happens. I don't particularly care about the dance going on because it's all even like a theoretical. There isn't even any plot relevance of like, oh, this is like an outward metaphor for how he's feeling. It's just, hey, I want to do this. Here's 15 minutes. Watch it. Like, there's nothing there to like keep me in. And I think it is a non-essential scene.
So would you consider this, would you say this is fair to be on a top 100 best films of all time?
Yes, because
I think it's crazy if you're going to skip a scene, regardless.
My
like, if there's a movie
review,
out there.
My Letterboxd review, it is a perfect example of an imperfect, perfect movie, which is stupid as shit, but I stand by it. Of the idea of I think everything around the one scene is as good as it can be. There is no single way to improve it. That scene is a problem. If you remove it, I also I don't love a couple other scenes prior to it. I think again, there's editing mistakes going on. Like, take shit out. There is a 5-star movie in here, and it is right at 5 stars. But there are just some useless, stupid fucking scenes that if I wanted to see really talented singing and dancing, I could go see a show, and I would like some plot relevance. That's my issue with like storytelling in general. But it's not essential.
There's overall, I think a lot of I'm with Payson for once on. I hate Technicolor majority of time in movies because it looks fake. Like everything I'm watching just doesn't look real, and I think that's fine. This is a movie that works with Technicolor. I think there's movies that work with it, and there's movies that work without it. And I think there's a fake element that you can create from it. This is like, if I had to be honest, like this is like Joy, Happiness, and a Musical. Like there's a musical that I consider more of that from the 60s that is not on this list. I feel like, and that can also have nostalgia into it. It just didn't make the list. And I would consider that movie better than this movie. But that's just my personal take. I sit there and think, what?
No, I was going to say, I agree with that take. I think calling that movie more Joy and Happiness.
2 60s musicals that are not on this that should have
been. Wait, okay, can you say them? Because now it's
West Side Story and Mary Poppins.
I don't think West Side Story is Happy Joy. That is like it's
So I was considering Mary Poppins when I said another musical from the 60s, West Side Story.
Very good.
I think those two are better musicals than Singing in the Rain if we're doing of the musical genre. That's just my take on it. But I'm not saying this doesn't discredit it. I think a lot of musicals from the past do a really bad thing where they dance too fucking much. They dance all the fucking time. They have to dance. Like it's like like I said West Side Story when I watched it. If there was a dancing quota, I've hit my limit. Like there's a cop, there's guns. I'm gonna dance away from run. Like I get it's a musical, just run. The problem is, I also don't want to move on. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I kind of disagree with that because I think about the West Side Story is that it's that whole aesthetic is like everything's music, everything's a dance. And I'd rather have that than this where it's like story, completely unrelated song and dance. Story, completely unrelated song and dance.
You like West Side Story.
I do.
So it doesn't matter what they do as an aesthetic. They could run. You'd still like West Side Story. You don't like this. There's the difference there. Well, also, I think before we go on, go ahead.
I think you're right though in the fact that I think like it works in West Side Story because we like it a lot. But that is borderline a dance movie, not a musical movie.
Mm-hmm. No,
like the soundtrack, there's way less songs than we think. It's
again, my problem is not that there's dancing. That makes sense. I think I think in every musical from a certain point to 60s, they dance to do anything. Like it's on a lot of movies that we have to have a dance number. It's a musical. They've got to do some jig. I don't care. But I will say this movie I consider one of the best scenes of all time is Singing in the Rain. When he walks out of that thing and the cab is like standing there and he tells him to go and the cab like looks at him like he's a crazy person. He just starts dancing down. The dance routine this man sells for 4 minutes by himself in rain and an umbrella is insanity. And that cop like looks at him in the end and is just like dancing, singing in the rain. It's just like this dude is crazy to everybody else, but in his mind, he's completely sane of what he's doing. And I think it's a brilliant scene. And I get it. That one great scene cannot make a movie. We know, like, that's fair. But I think.
But even that, like that scene, like if you like, there's no setup for it. Like they cut right into her dropping off the door. She walks in, and the song starts. And this is like supposedly the centerpiece of the movie, and it has absolutely nothing to do with anything. You completely cut it out of the movie, and nothing changes other than why is it called Singin' in the Rain?
I think it's the fact that Don had been winning so much, and he finally just hit the jackpot. And he's like, "Let's fucking go! Let's sing in the rain."
I guess I will say. I mean, I'm bad mouthing a lot. Some of this choreography, fantastic. Like I think, like I said, Moses Opposes a nonsense song. The choreography in that is great. There's one part in there where it doesn't, like, I just noticed it doesn't look like much, but Kelly's dancing and O'Connell's sitting down watching him, and then he gets up and gets right, like I think Kelly's like mid-spin tap dancing, and O'Connell gets up and like gets right in step with him immediately. And it looks like it doesn't look like much, but it also looks like the most difficult thing in the world to do, because Kelly's going full speed and he just gets up and goes like 0 to 100 right in step with him. And there's so many little things like that where, like, yeah, if I'm watching this just for the dancing, it's great. Make them laugh doesn't impress me because like just like a tumbling routine, but some like the choreography for Moses Opposes, for Good Morning, some of that is just like mind blowing what they're able to do, especially when they're doing it all in sequence.
Yeah, I think I think like that aspect too. Like you're 100% right. I just want to know, like, maybe there's rumors out there, or maybe there's actual stories, but these overly happy guys in movies, Bing Crosby, Gene Kelly, were they just dickheads outside of it because they're way too fucking happy in most things that you see them in? Are they really dickheads? Like, was there stories?
They were on a lot of drugs. So many.
I've never.
If you look at Bing Crosby in all his old movies, that man is held hostage by somebody. He doesn't want to, but he is forced to go out there, monkey dance, sing, do my thing. He just looked miserable the entire, like but he's got a fake happy the entire time. But maybe this is no slander on Gene Kelly. Gene Kelly was a nice guy.
Gene Kelly. God bless Pittsburgh native Gene Kelly.
You know, I just Googled, is Gene Kelly an asshole? And I was going to share some things, but I was like, I'm not going to read it. So
Bad guy, maybe. Okay. Anybody back in the day?
He was born in like 1900. He probably wasn't the best kind of person.
Could be bad guy. They didn't. Bad guy. Yeah. Okay. We're going to get star ratings. Kirk, we'll just start with you.
Yeah. Spence, you are right. There is a 5-star movie in here. It's when you take the movie, when you take all the music out, slap a horror art rating on it, and call it Babylon. I'm giving this 2.5 stars.
That is effing disgusting. God damn you, son of a bitch! I am so fucking mad right now. I am at I'm 5 stars. It's a 5-star movie. I love it. Payson.
Look, Babylon Hive. This movie is better. 5 stars.
Oh, so I'll kick you out, Spence.
Kirk is right. Babylon is great, but both are 4.5 stars.
Jesus.
Yeah, this is like Babylon if it was good. 5 stars.
Let's go.
I'm just kidding. I like Babylon, but I don't love it.
Shut up. Gosh, no one, please, no one ever bring that on the round table.
Babylon actually is higher on my top 100 than this is.
Yes,
yeah. No one bring. That might be one of my band movies on roundtable that you can't bring on. I might work that into it. I just don't have to.
Garfield, A Tale of Two Kitties. Okay, Babylon. Nope.
Less. 90 minutes. I'll take it. Okay. I'll preface this next movie. Me dumb, me not understand movie, me caveman, me don't understand dream sequences from Hollywood actress that bounces between reality and not. Mulholland Drive. Fucking kill me. I'm sorry. I understand. I give off caveman energy. Like, this man may just smack two rocks together to like get food. I understand this movie. I don't feel like this movie is like this mind-bending thing that you can't grasp. I understand that and I watched one thing where somebody's like, this movie makes a lot of more sense. This person like had a lot of like views and like likes on this post, and this thing was Mulholland Drive makes a lot more sense after you see the film in its completion. You fucking think any movie makes a lot of sense when you watch the end of the movie?
That is the dumbest comment I've ever heard.
I would understand a second viewing, a fourth viewing, maybe 10. If you watch this movie in completion, you should get it. Got it. This is the one that's close where I get. So I gave it a 1-star rating. 2021. I gave it a 1-star rating. It is not a 1-star movie. It is not. Realistically, it is a well-made film. Do I feel like the person making this film has their head so far up their own ass that they don't know where, like, they don't know between dream and reality, and they're trying to grasp and stuff? That's my take on it. But overall, is it a bad movie? No, it's just not a me movie at the end of the day. So I think that's fair. Did anybody see this movie for the very first time? Okay, so Spence, take it away.
This was also my first David Lynch movie, and it might be my last. I don't know what you're expecting, Dylan. Here's the I believe that I understand the movie. I was really fucking hating it, and then I got to the last like 5 minutes. Like, okay, I sort of get it. But David Lynch feels like I could tell he's the inspiration for a lot of college film students, because it's just, can I make things look pretty and then also just vomit shit? And it's like, oh, hey, this is art. Like, it's not illogical, but it feels like there's no motivation. It's just, what can I get away with? And it's like, hey, what if we randomly have Spanish opera? Would that be crazy for 10 minutes? Wouldn't it be fucking wild? I don't get. I think the two having sex is like really out of hand. I don't understand it. It's like, oh, the self-obsession, that's crazy. What if you like did something else? Like David Lynch is like, he loves Laura Dern. I can't tell what other women he likes. It didn't feel super, super great. I didn't like the opening. Like the scene at the diner is like, oh, it all loops back together. It's just really annoying and self-congratulatory. I might watch The Elephant Man, but David Lynch is one of the most anti-me filmmakers I've ever seen.
Do you want me to wait, Cody, or can I go now?
No, this is a free form where everybody can talk. I do feel like maybe we let Dylan or Payson go, because there was 2 shots fired across the.
That's fair. That's fair.
Let's get their perspective.
Let Dylan go last, though.
Yeah, absolutely. I adore this movie. I love this movie to pieces. I have not seen every David Lynch movie, but with the exception of Inland Empire and Dune, I actually really respect everything that he does. Even I should say I like everything he does. I would even say I respect both Inland Empire and Dune, even though I don't think they're very good. I'll admit, I still don't really know what David Lynch is getting at with this movie. Like, I'll be the first to admit, I'm not sure what this movie means, but I think just what separates me from some other movie watchers, and I think this is okay, I don't need that. I don't need to entirely know what a movie is trying to say for me to necessarily enjoy it. There are several movies where I'm like, I'm not sure what you're getting at, but I still walk away enjoying the movie. And I think it's because I think the one thing I do disagree with you, Cody. I do think David Lynch has some sort of a thread as to what he is trying to say with this movie. I have some sort of trust in the filmmaker that deep down he is trying to tell us something, and just in the most batshit way. And I am just along for the ride, and I do kind of love it. I'll admit this is not confirmed. The movie feels like a dream while you're watching it, like how just you keep jumping back from things to things, like sort of inexplicably, and like the like second shot of the movie is literally someone getting in bed and their head hitting a pillow. So I kind of view it as like you are literally just watching the dreams of these characters. And just certain things like happen, like Naomi Watts just switches characters towards the latter half of the movie, and I'm just and on first watch I was like, oh, that's a little weird. I kind of understand that like a little bit more now. Knowing that this movie was supposed to be like the pilot for a TV show is maybe the most insane thing, because I'm like, what TV show is this going to be? But probably a show I would watch because Twin Peaks is probably my favorite show of all time. I think there are scenes in this movie where I think they're like some of my favorite like scenes of all time, whether it's the audition scene or the Silencio scene. I think are just genius. This is a movie that like I understand why some wouldn't like it, but I can't deny how much I adore this movie. And it's one that I do understand why someone would put it on a top 100. I know Spence just said this feels like college dorm stuff of just, let's just put a bunch of pretty stuff and make it enjoyable. Well, I think half the stuff in this movie I think is like really low lit and really like and shot from a really dark angle. So I wouldn't even say that counts. Spence says that they weren't a fan of the gay sex scene. Sorry that bothered you. I'm sorry. Wouldn't have done that with Cody or Kirk. But
let me go through my whole submissions list. There's a lot of lesbians. My best friend's a lesbian.
Oh, sure. So is mine. I'm going to be the best man at her wedding.
Trying to land the plane. Trying to bring the plane in. Let's not go there.
Dylan, you want to go or you want me to go?
Oh, you go ahead.
Okay. Because I'm going to kind of like just take the lid off this movie. First of all, I've never been so pleasantly surprised to be on the same page as Spence. I was not expecting that, so that's I'm very happy for that. Second of all, I want to like David Lynch movies. I love the guy as a personality. I love watching him interviews. I think he's a cool guy. So when I don't like his movies, I'm like kind of bummed out about it. And there are movies of his that I do like and I do enjoy. So that's it. But this movie, what's that?
You like Blue Velvet? You seem like you.
Yeah, I like Blue Velvet. Yeah, I do like Blue Velvet. But Payson hit the nail on the head. He mentioned it. This movie is a failed television show pilot that Lynch repurposed and P.T. Barnum the world into thinking it's some great work of art. I mean, Cody said he has his head up his ass. I disagree with you. I think he's like laughing behind the scenes. Like he's like, ha ha ha, look at this nonsense I threw out there, and all these people are eating up with a spoon. Like literally, it was, and you could tell it's a TV show because there's stuff like there's a cowboy. Well, who's the cowboy? Well, we'll find out who that is in season 3. Don't worry about that. There's a guy robbing somebody for a black book. What's that for? Oh, that's down the road, and he just left it in. I mean, I don't understand, like, no matter how much you like the things you like about it, like, that is objectively horrible filmmaking when you just throw out a plot thread or throw out a character, and it's not even, like, ambiguous what happens. It's just nothing. Like, they're just not there because it was for the next episode of the TV show, and you left it in. It's insane. But, yeah.
It's not literal.
I watched this movie, and, I mean, it's like, I see like David Lynch, like he's the man behind the curtain. He's the Wizard of Oz pulling the levers, like he's doing something great. Like I said, I believe this, and after watching Lost Highway, I think he is in on the joke. Like I don't think he's like, oh, I'm some great artist with all these, esoteric things to say. I think he's like, let me see how much crap I can put out there and reel people in with it. Like he refuses to explain this movie, and there's a reason for that because if he knows, it's not something that is contained within the movie. I think it's definitely he just threw out ideas. Yeah, guy behind the dumpster. I'll think of something later. Whatever. So I feel like this movie is just like a house of cards that somehow people have bought into. And I'm sorry, Dylan, I can tell you're getting angrier and angrier as we speak.
It's all right.
Dylan, can I say one thing real quick?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, Kirk, I respect almost everything you said. I completely disagree, but I respect the one thing I will say that I vehemently disagree with the amount of times we've seen different directors or artists come out and try to explain, well, this is what my work really was meaning, and how we all end up becoming annoyed and pissed off at that. I'm happy.
It's like explaining the joke.
Oh yeah. No, I'm not criticizing for him not explaining it, but like I said, I think there's a reason why he doesn't.
All right. Well, there's nothing I can do to convince there's literally nothing you can do to convince people that dislike David Lynch that it's all intentional. It's just you either are on board with it or you're not. Like, I think it's kind of just, in all honesty, I think it's a bit of a bad faith argument when people just say, oh, it means nothing. It's all just nonsense. David Lynch is just pulling random shit out of his ass and throwing it on the screen. Whatever. If you feel that way, fine. I disagree. I love his movies. This went up on my ranking for my favorite movies of his and just my favorite movies in general on a rewatch. I think this movie's incredible. I think it has a lot of interesting stuff to say about just Hollywood in general. And because I like Payson said about Singin' in the Rain. I mean, I also like movies about Hollywood that celebrate Hollywood. I also love movies that are about how shitty Hollywood is. And that's exactly what this movie is about, where it's tackling a lot of themes about how, Hollywood exploits actresses and basically chews them up and spits them out. And there's a lot of interesting stuff there. I also just think there's it can be tough to follow, I guess. I still think when it has it follows a very distinct structure where it's that this is all, in the end, this is all in her head. There's two different parts of the movie. There's the story that's everything before the wake up scene where she wakes up in her apartment. There's everything afterwards. I think when you just examine those two stories separately, the whole picture makes a lot more sense. But yeah, I also just think there's so many all-time great scenes in this movie. Some scenes that are legitimately funny, when the introduction to the hitman's character comes out of nowhere, where it's just he accidentally he tries to pull off a hit and it goes so horribly wrong and it just keeps escalating and escalating. And it's that's one of the things I like about Lynch is these random moments of humor that just catch you off guard and they're just really weird and funny. And then there's also incredibly intense scenes, the opera scene, and also I don't think it was mentioned, but the cowboy character I think is really fascinating. And when he comes in and he's if you see me again one more time, that means you did good. If you see me again twice, that means you did bad. There's moments like that in this movie that I think are just really, really.
And neither of those things happen.
Exactly. Yeah.
What do you mean exactly? It goes against what he just said.
That was exactly two more times in the movie.
Spence, that was going to be the season 1 finale, so that's the reason why we did it.
But then it's Tom. It's oh, I saw you again. Okay, cool. So you just wait. That's it.
Because she woke up. The dream ended.
Woke up, yeah.
So
I will never say this again. Nolan did it better. I would rather live in his fucking dreams, whatever the fuck David Lynch just did here.
I mean, I think they're totally different. But my take is
all about fucking college dorm room stuff with David Lynch, and then you bring up Nolan. Okay.
No, Christopher Nolan is every fucking generic ass white man's oh, jack up, I love these fucking movies. That's their whole personality. I hate that. No, it's better than David Lynch.
You've seen one of his movies.
Yes.
So we talked about this on the last roundtable that when I feel, and this may get mixed, and I get it. I'm not saying there's a definitive answer. But I feel like it's cheap filmmaking, or it's almost falling into a trope now to leave it up to the audience perspective to finish your movie. It could be done really well, or it could be done bad. But a lot of people are now falling on that to just be hey, you interpreted it how you would like to interpret it. And that works, and then it doesn't. So my thing is, I like the elements of this movie. I want that to be record. I think this is bullshit, this blah, blah, blah. Like, I think the cowboy makes sense because we see the cowboy twice. So it's like in the audience perspective, like, we're seeing them twice. I see that viewpoint. I see the aspect of how Hollywood treats actresses, and once they're done, they're basically left to go. Like, they have like the whole Sunset Boulevard like thing happen. Like, I looked into more of this beyond because I'm just curious of like where he was going on some stuff. Like Norma Desmond's car is like in the background of a shot and stuff like that. There's interesting stuff because like her star not being where it is, Norma Desmond very similar from Sunset Boulevard. So there's different aspects of it. I like it. I just feel like this, and this makes sense because we're different people, right? Dylan is one that likes those kind of movies. Like, he's a big Wes Anderson guy. He's a big this. I feel like there's a lot of substance, or stylistic versus substance for me. And that's where I differ as a film watcher, right? I need paint by number sometimes. I need you to give me a basic. I need the plot. I need to be able to follow. I don't want to interpret stuff. That's not how I enjoy movies. And I know there's some people that would rather like Payson saying, I don't have to understand that, and that's fine for me. That would put me in an insane asylum. There's no shot in hell that I'm going to be there to be interpreted because I'm not smart enough to. Not that I'm not smart enough to interpret it. It's not my job to interpret things. Like, I just don't like that viewpoint. I would rather you tell me your end of your story. Is he the same guy? Hold on, we're just real quick. Is he the same guy that yells like on sets and like he's the crazy guy that's like in the interviews, like got white hair, glasses, and just like one lady looks in and goes, "You want to shorten this up? Why the fuck do you want to make everything short like that guy?"
Yeah.
Okay, I love his personality. His movies. Yeah. I've seen Elephant Man, I've seen Eraserhead, and I've seen this. I've seen 3 movies. I think that is I don't know how, and that's an interesting conversation I've never had. Well, how many movies of a director do you need to see to realize that maybe they're not for me? I think I've seen his Crazier Than Crazy Eraserhead. I think I've seen his more grounded Elephant Man, and I think I've seen his now middle of the road Mulholland Drive. And I could just tell on those 3, not my guy. Not my guy, and I think that's fine. He's there for somebody. But that's an interesting conversation.
I don't mind ambiguity. I don't mind a little stuff left to the imagination. My problem, like in this movie, is where I don't even have the option of anything to imagine. Like I said, you have that scene where you have the hitman come in and he's stealing a book. That book is a plot point, and that's it. Like, it just ends. It's not like, oh, maybe this book is something else. We'll take it here and we'll see. It just says no. Like, it just introduces the character, introduces the plot point, and then completely abandons it. That's not ambiguity. That's just somebody forgot to edit more or write more. That's all that is. There's nothing ambiguous. They're like, oh, what was that about? Like, there's nothing. So that's what I don't like about this movie. Is just the stuff, because I don't mind like the stuff about identity and all that stuff. Like, that's fine. Like, it's whatever. That's not my problem with it. It's just like those little things. Honestly, this is my second time watching it. Up until I finished watching it last night, I honestly thought I fell asleep at the end of the first time I watched this movie, and I dreamt the miniature old people. I did not believe that was actually in this movie until I saw it again. I'm like, oh, that's real. That's fair. But just stuff like that, it's like, whatever. But like I said, I've seen. I can't even count. I just watched Dune a couple months ago. But I like some of his movies. Like, Spence, I would say for you, I'd give Blue Velvet a try. Give Blue Velvet a shot. If you don't like that, then yeah, Lynch is not for you. But I think you might dig Blue Velvet.
I have.
Okay, but even if Blue Velvet hits, will the rest?
Probably not.
It's at least like it's like microdosing him because it's still like his style, just not like vomiting.
I honestly feel like. Do you you've seen more and watched more than I have, Dylan? Do you think this is like the worst, or by our point of view, the worst example of this kind of Lynch movie?
Nope, absolutely.
The worst example? No.
What do you think's worse?
Inland Empire with a bullet. Yes.
Okay.
The Inland Empire. Sorry, go ahead.
No. The movie that I feel like Kirk, Cody, and Spencer are describing is what I see in Inland Empire. I still kind of enjoy that movie, but that is the one where I'm like, this is nonsense.
Yeah, if you think Mulholland Drive is vomiting just nonsense all over the screen, and I'll say I even kind of like Inland Empire. If you feel that way about Mulholland Drive, Inland Empire might actually be your least favorite movie ever made.
Ever made.
Yeah.
I will say, Kirk, if you want really great David Lynch, go to his Twitter. Fantastic Twitter account.
Oh, I got it.
Watch his weather reports on YouTube.
Yeah.
I think
Blue skies, golden
but
sunshine.
I will say the one element that I really do like from this movie that I will say I did pick up things on the second watch that I didn't get the first time. So like that's a good aspect. It means I didn't fall asleep. But I will say is what I believe is like where the dream and reality start to like break. I think that's they do that super well. Like where the name tags on the way, like the different things, like her picking up on the stuff and then like breaking. I think that they do a really good job of it. It just, if this was a TV show, like I get that viewpoint, but also I get why some people like it. That was a really good discussion. It was a very mixed and very heated, but I think it was very interesting conversation.
Sorry.
So I liked it.
Still love you, Dylan.
That's what I want.
I hope you still love me.
You too.
No, fuck you. Star ratings. I'm 2.5. So it went from 1 to 2.5. I think that's growth. It's just not a me movie. I just don't find that much enjoyment for it. I think it's long. I don't think I'm going to pop it in anytime. But now I can say that I've seen it twice, and I think that's, fair. And maybe I won't get a message that, hey, do you not understand that? Kirk.
I'll delete mine.
Dylan, you said you liked movies that show what a terrible place Hollywood is. I got a really great movie for you. It's called Babylon.
Knew it was going there.
I'm at 2 stars.
I adore this movie with every fiber of my being. I think it is I won't quite throw out the M word, but I would still.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't think you said M at first. I was like,
sorry. Not funny.
This show won't make it to the next episode.
I would give it 5 stars. I absolutely love everything that David Lynch is doing. I completely understand why why certain people wouldn't like it, and from the way you guys are talking, it sounds like you would understand why me and Dylan would like it.
Yeah, if you can sit in a movie and not fully understand and like it, hey, hats off to you. I wish I had that. I have a phrase that I would say, but I won't be saying it. Spence.
Yeah. So
did you guys rate it, Dylan? And
I haven't rated it yet. No.
Yeah.
Oh, Payson, what was your rating?
5 stars.
Dylan.
5 stars. Yeah.
Okay, I just didn't want to put words in your mouth. Spence.
For me, this is at 2 stars. I think there is like maybe a 3.5 or a 4 in there for me. In the movie,
how you talked, I was like, this movie's getting like a half star. Like you were so angry.
Dude, I watched Poggy Beach. I know dog shit. I've seen it.
That's fair.
Again, like I think I also because I read a couple reviews ahead of time, so I sort of understood like the thematics going into it. I understand the movie just about as well as I like want to from a first viewing. I enjoy the subtext. Just the movie around it really fucking annoys me. So I think there is a movie in here I could like, just not this.
And we have not talked about it. I just want to say the Billy Ray Cyrus jump scare is.
Oh my god!
It's not
I just need to forget all about this, man.
all about this fucking Billy Ray Cyrus.
He tries to be like so calm about it at first. It's like,
Kirk, what was your rating? Did I ask you?
Yeah, 2 stars.
Okay. This one may be interesting. I don't know where this one's going to go. But the next one is The Prestige. Speaking of Nolan, yeah, I just want to get ahead of this one. This is the one I didn't see for a really long time. Probably one of my last Nolans that I actually watched. Trivia ruined this movie for me before I got to it. I just heard every plot point about this movie before I ever watched the movie. So, like, overall, lost a lot of the effect on it. I like Nolan, majority, like, most of his work. But overall, I would say, did anybody not see this prior? I'm assuming everybody's seen The Prestige. Okay. I just was like, it was very hyped in this community when I first joined. Like, people like listed it very high up. And I think that I also came in the thing where I didn't really love Inception because I watched it when I was younger and I just didn't like it. The Dark Knight and Batman Begins, those things were always there. So I'm curious where everybody else lands on it. But again, I don't think I can ever get to that hype level for The Prestige because of everything going into it. I was set up to fail from the beginning. So what's everybody else's take on it? I also think Prestige being on here for Nolan is kind of crazy. That's just my take. I don't know.
Is this the only movie on here?
No.
Okay.
No, because
I
this
feel like-
community is
Think
built
about
on
the group you're talking about.
You walked into the movie saying it.
There is at least 2
Okay.
more.
Okay.
I'll say this is, famously not being a huge Nolan guy, this is top 2 or 3 Nolan for me for sure. It could, any given day, could be number 1. I think it's very Nolan-y in that it has like that kind of like overcomplicated plot and like try to do too much. But it's grounded in a very interesting subject matter. I just love that world of magic and illusion that's set in, where it takes, obviously there's like a more like fanciful turn it takes later on, but like how it's like grounded in like not like magic, but like an illusion, and almost turns that into something otherworldly in and of itself. And I love the idea of like obsession. And how what price is worth paying for greatness to be the best, and just how both characters kind of explore that and their different takes on what makes a good musician. Like you have one person who's a good, the 2 things you need to be a good magician is like the actual skill and also the showmanship. So you have like two magicians who excel at either one of those things, and it kind of like personifies their attitudes and their conflict, where one is like one's the showman, and that's so that's more about him. It's more about the attention and the grabbing the audience and them remembering you. And for the other one, it's just about being the best and doing the best trick. And I kind of like sets the whole plot into motion, the whole conflict in motion. So I really like that about it. I think that's just a lot of fun. And then you add the Tesla stuff and like how it gets weirder later on. I think that's just like a really cool cherry on top. What's that?
Sorry.
where you could have kept it all like in complete reality. But I like the fact that he kind of takes it out of it a little bit and adds that more. We're spoiling this, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
So, so the fact that it takes on that kind of like sci-fi fantasy element to it later on down the road is really cool. But yeah, I just think it's just the way, but like it's the way it's like them talking to each other through their journals and like communicating. They have that relationship, and that's the other thing I love about in movies is when you have 2 people who are completely opposed to each other, but they're also like the only like that heat situation where they're the only 2 people who understand each other and who like know where they're coming from and why they are driven the way they are. So yeah, and Jack Min's great in this. Bale's great in it, and I think it's just a really good movie.
I think something I really gravitate towards on this watch is just how good this movie looks. Like when you have movies that take place in like this period of time, there are certain times where it looks like just like actors are just playing dress up, and I think just you can clearly tell the budget and the production design and just how much money went into making this look period accurate, or at least getting that illusion that it is period accurate. I think is really, really well done. Like Kirk said, I really just love how this gets into like the minutia of magic and creating illusions. And yeah, like the whole rivalry between Angier and Morden, and how like their philosophies on tricks and getting the audience's attention, I think is what makes this so interesting. Obviously, me and Kirk were talking about this earlier, and I know you you gravitate a little bit more towards Angier. I gravitate a little bit more towards Morden, and I think and I think both characters have their flaws, both the characters have their weaknesses. And I think that's what makes it so well done. I've never quite understood the people that. No, I should say I don't understand because I completely understand. I've never been to the this is like top tier Nolan for me. I think it's like right out of there. I think there are at least 3 Nolan movies I think I considerably like more than this, but I still think it's a really, really well done movie. With what Cody said about how like trivia spoiled him, it's so funny. I watched this movie, I want to say for the first time in 2021, and I knew the cloning stuff. I knew some character had to do with like clones. The twin stuff I had no idea about, and I think that's why that twist like works so much better for me. And I even think it's like done a little bit better in the movie. Like something like on rewatch, I was surprised. I think the movie does a really good job at not letting you like not focusing too much on Clifton's or on Borden's assistant's face too long for you to realize that it is Bale playing both parts. Like I was surprised how well done that still works on rewatch, even though like if you are rewatching it and you probably are like looking for it. I think if I were to have like one nitpick, or I guess 2 nitpicks, one of them is kind of more silly. I would have swapped the swap the order of the reveals. Like I think it would have made maybe been a little bit more interesting if you learn about Angier's trick a little earlier in the movie, and then the last scene is you realizing how intricate the twin reveal was, and how they both had to cut off their fingers, how they both fell in love with different women. I just think that's just such an incredible moment. And if I were to give like one quick nitpick, do people have like baby lungs in this movie? Because like people are drowning after like 25 seconds.
They're screaming the whole time.
It's crazy, and I'm like, I can go down underwater, and if I'm really pushed, I can go 2 minutes at least. These people are dying after like 25 seconds. Like, bro, man up, my God.
I love Payson's nitpick because they don't got lungs like me. Together.
I would say one too. My nitpick, Payson reminded me of, and it didn't bother him, but for me, my first time watch. When the first time you saw Ward's assistant, I was like, "Oh, that's Christian Bale in stage makeup."
Fair. I did not.
So that for me personally, that completely spoiled like the whole, because they're having the conversation like, "Is it a double? Isn't it a double?" I'm like, "Well, yeah, because that's the double right there and the fake mustache." So that's my one nitpick that like it obviously didn't spoil everything, but as far as like how the trick worked, that was given up for me immediately.
I do want to comment on that really quickly.
You understand why that would like I was fooled by it, but if you caught on, I completely understand why.
You know what? The funny thing is, like later on in the movie, when you're seeing them a little more, the makeup is better. But like that first shot they show when the camera's right on them, like, oh, that's Christian Bale.
This isn't the Kirk and Payson show. Jeez, Spence.
Sorry, guys.
I was actually watching most of this with my partner right before the show started, and they could not tell anytime it was like Bale in makeup or Jackman in makeup, which like I think like since I'm more familiar with them as actors, like I can see a little bit more. But the makeup is like genuinely fantastic. I think they do a really good job at, like they said, like hiding it just at the Winter reveal. It's like oh shit, like it's like a hard click, and I think that's really fantastic. This for me is my favorite Nolan film. I think I have problems with him generally as a director, especially as a writer, but I think this is a really fascinating, huh?
We could tell from earlier you threw a bomb, Brendan.
I think this movie is really fascinating because it's maybe like the most written movie ever, where in the last like 20 minutes it's 50 fucking plot twists and it goes like really aggressive. And I'm shocked how like unpretentious it was. And it wasn't like, oh, look at me, I'm so smart. Like it feels very genuine. Like there's a lot of effort like been put into it. And I think it's really fucking great. I think that especially diving into it, it's like this should be the nerdiest shit on the planet. Oh, I want to be better at magic than you. It should be 2 fucking like scrawny dudes with like really shitty mustaches just going at it. But these are just like, I believe that this is like everything to them. And the way that you see the downfall from their relationships especially, it has me fucking hooked. Because it's not just it's a magic movie. It's about 2 real big stupid men who cannot handle being second best. And I think that's what Nolan understands when writing these movies, is it's not just about the illusion. It's about the people behind the story. This is, I think, on the rewatch, it did go down a little bit for me, but I still think it's maybe the most rewatchable because it's the most human of any of Nolan's films, in my opinion. Weirdly enough.
It's funny because I was just going to say, like, I feel like this is peak Nolan because, like, it has, like, all, like, the Nolanisms that come later in his career, but, like, his head isn't completely up his own ass yet. So, like you said, like, there's a lot more, like it feels a lot more natural, even though you have a lot of those same, like, moving parts that you see in the later films.
Why do we keep putting heads up asses?
Because we're talking about
You said it
Nolan and
earlier.
David Lynch.
You started the
Lynch's head's up his ass, and Nolan, you're just a Nolan hater. Dylan, Magic.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a whole lot else to add. I think this movie's really good. It's not. It used to be one of my favorite Nolan films, and I rewatched it earlier this year, and I've kind of cooled off on it a bit. Going off of what Spence said with like all the twists at the end, that's always been a bit of I think nitpick that I have with certain movies. Like I know Cody gave me shit a while ago for when I gave 3.5 stars to Witness for the Prosecution because it had so many twists on twists on twists at the end, and certain movies do that where they just pack a whole bunch of twists back to back. I get a little exhausted, and I'm like, all right, just pick an ending and end the movie, please. Like,
come up with your own ending if you'd like.
Yes, exactly. But so yeah, that always kind of bothered me. I also, I love Angier and Borden. I think they're both really fascinating characters, and I love like their dichotomy where one's a great showman and one's a great just a magician in general. And
Is
like
he the greatest showman?
It's a good point. I never put that together. That's good shit.
Hey, don't spoil the movie that's on the top 100.
Oh God. No, but yeah. Aside from that, I don't find a lot of the side characters to be all that interesting. Like I think their love interests, I don't find. I wasn't as crazy about those storylines, but it's just I guess a personal thing. But anyways, yeah, it's a good movie overall. I think it's weird that it's on this list because I think that means for most people that put it on here, that means they put multiple Nolan movies in their top 20 best movies of all time list, which I think is weird. But anyways.
Is this your first day in this community? You just get here?
I know. Well, it's just like I figured if they're limiting it down to 20, they wouldn't have like 3 from one director.
It's the James Franco meme with the noose on his head. First time? Like, yeah, we've been through this shit.
This is why you should just not put any Nolan. I would say actually the Prestige was on my list, but if I went back, it wouldn't be.
Shut the fuck up. Nolan is great. There is one movie that should be on this list, and we will talk about it at a later point.
Oh, yeah.
Other than that, take it or leave it. And one's got The Man and the Cow. Like, of course it's going to be on the fucking list. This group just loves fucking Batman.
Is that a Batman movie or a Joker movie we're talking about?
Oh, probably it's a better Joker movie than a Batman movie, but we'll talk about that at a later date.
Movie.
I thought you said
God, I can't wait to rewatch that and have a conversation on that movie. God, who do I bring on? Like, we should bring the whole community.
There's still so many things to cover about that movie. It hasn't been discussed enough.
Get Ryan Ferguson on.
Where is it filmed? I'm not sure. Maybe that's what we can talk about. The opening shot? Oh, we'll talk about that later. Okay, last movie of the night.
Star ratings.
Oh yeah, star ratings on this. I'm 4 stars. Fine.
I'm 4.5.
I didn't go to you. What the fuck do you think this is? I'm sorry. If you don't want to be on the show, if you want to speed up the process, you can just leave. But I go to people here. Kirk, what's yours?
I'm going to say it with a completely different facial expression to you because I like this movie. 4 stars.
It was ruined. Blame Kaleb Koho. I don't know what to tell you. Dylan,
I understand.
Featured it in everything we could.
It's between 3.5 and 4 for me. Again, I think I like this more than I let on to be because I tend to focus on the negatives more whenever I have negative stuff to say about a movie. But anyways, yeah, I give it like 4 stars. I guess I like it more than Chef.
Why is John Favreau catching strays here? Okay, he makes real good pasta. Okay,
listen, you said you liked it, and you went right at David Lynch pretty hard. So that might be a return fire. Spence.
why am I the Nolan defender? This is 4.5. I think this is fucking fantastic. If he stopped making,
what world are we living in?
if he stops
why
making
is-
Tenet and makes semi-grounded like character pieces, I'm in.
Can
Stop
we
with the
not act like this man didn't just put Oppenheimer out?
It's 4 stars.
Kind of a masterpiece.
I do agree with Adelaide though. Tenet is back.
Yeah.
Dunkirk.
Tenet is
I love
bad.
Dunkirk.
Yeah. That sucks.
Dunkirk's bad, if you want honest opinion. Payson, what's your rating?
4.5 stars. Same with Spence, but Nolan's made 3 5-star movies for me, so he's a great director.
I'd like to be in that boat going, that plane going down the entire time in Dunkirk instead of watch the film. Okay, last movie. A little indie darling, On the Waterfront. Yeah, Kirk. I think Kirk sold this movie. I think the last time we talked about this movie, we were on call together because it was performances and it was Brando. You were basically of how you. I don't remember what you said exactly, but you said a perfect way of like how he impacted like the rest of Hollywood, right?
Oh yeah, like
this
between
performance?
this and a Streetcar, like you watch any actor under 30 over the past like 50 years, and they're just doing an impression of this.
Yeah. I think it's a really good movie. I don't have a love for it. I don't dislike it, but I don't love it. Like, it's a middle thing, but can it be considered one of the best? Yeah, I think so. Like, it definitely inspired a whole bunch of people to how they act. I think, who's the Carl Malden?
Yeah,
Carl
Corbin.
Malden.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he gives like an insane performance. Like, I think he's really good. I think Brando's really good. The classic contender line in this, like I think he's got like a great character arc throughout this movie. I think it works. I don't know if I've seen a lot of Ellie Kazan movies. Maybe I have. Maybe I haven't. Everybody else, what's your thought on The Waterfront? While I look that up, the answer is really no.
I'll say so. I've seen this a lot in the past few years. I watched it for the first time, I think, for a film class in high school, and then ever since then, I was like, it's good, I guess. Everyone hated that, so I've seen it like 3 times ever since I got in the community, and it has gotten better each time. I think that it's really fantastic. Like, obviously, the performances are all great, but I think going into it this time, I think the things around the characters it stood out to me. Like, I think the score is really fucking great. I forgot the opening scene, weirdly enough, and that's really harrowing, and it's a great way to start the movie. The tone in it is like I think I use the phrase too much, but I feel like the tone is like dripping off the film. Like, it is heavy and it is dense. I think it has a really incredible atmosphere. Like, I don't think the movie's perfect. I think there's definitely like a lot of issues, but I think I have one issue with the movie. I think a couple things like don't fully go together. But as this like very grounded human story with a lot of really amazing performances and one of the best scenes of any movie ever, this is like really incredible.
Yeah, I think there's a solid argument to be made that this, like, the overall cast in this movie, this is like maybe one of the best performances just from an entire cast. Because like there are so many amazing performances like in this movie. Obviously, Carl Malden, he's my favorite in the movie. It's kind of a cold take from what I can tell. A lot of people prefer him a lot in this movie, but yeah, he's amazing. That whole "This is my church" scene is fantastic. Yeah. And I mean, yeah, what's his name? Rod Steiger, who shows up briefly as his brother and has the one scene with him in the car. Like, that's an amazing scene. Yeah, there's so many great moments like that. And yeah, just an all-time great ending when he's like making the final walk. It's like so good. But yeah, this is my second time watching it. And yeah, I feel pretty much the exact same way as I did the first time watching it. It's a fantastic film. Yeah, it's like, I love the character arc of Terry Malloy. I think it's like so well done. Just seeing his guilt, like trying to process this thing that he's done to Edie's brother, and then like how that affects his relationship, where she's like the only good, as he says, she's the only good thing that happened to him, and he feels like that relationship's like doomed because of the history between him and his brother. So I thought all that was like really, really well done, and yeah, it's just a great movie. So yeah. I don't have much else to add.
Yeah, I absolutely love this movie. This was my second time watching. I was wondering if it was going to go down or whether I was going to think that the score I had it originally just wasn't deserved. No, I still really, really love it. Something that I don't think people have talked about is I just love the world this movie sets up. Like, just like when you're seeing the like when you go into a bar, or whether you're seeing these characters just like at their jobs, just working, and all the sounds that are in there, like just how it captures that life in such a perfect way. I think is probably the thing I love the most about it. So many of these characters I think are excellent. I think everyone's talked about Brando and Malden. Malden is my favorite performance. As Father Barry, just that monologue in the church I think is excellent. Brando, Marlon Brando, Eva Marie Saint both won Oscars for this movie, deservingly so. Lee J. Cobb, I think, was just born to play these like villain roles, and I think he's just so good as this like big like dickish like union boss enforcer, and I think he just does that so well. Knowing the history of Elia Kazan and like what this movie is really about, it does make me look at like what it's saying in a little bit like in kind of a sad look, and I'm not sure if we want to get into that. Interesting that we both got that we have two movies where essentially it's kind of the self-insert for like the director's life. In case anyone doesn't know, Elia Kazan was someone that essentially ratted out a bunch of the writers in Hollywood to Joseph McCarthy when the whole Red Scare was going on in the 50s. This movie is essentially him saying, like, wasn't I right for doing this? Wasn't this a noble cause? But I can personally, and obviously that wasn't a noble cause by any means, I can personally separate these two, and I can just appreciate this movie for being such a phenomenal film. And even for like a black and white movie, I just think it looks beautiful. Like the shots and the cinematography are just excellent.
Yeah, Spence and Payson both kind of hit the nail on the head when I was thinking about it. Like, I just love how the movie looks. It has like the atmosphere of it, you know, all those like those deep focus shots, like that shot in the bar where they're on the whole other end and you can see them, and just like a lot of things like that. Like everything's always smoky and steamy, and it gives it like the waterfront as like this otherworldly place. Like it feels like it's very grounded, but also it's like very separated, like it's its own thing. And I love the mob, like how ubiquitous they are. I love the faces. So many of these actors playing like the mobsters and the henchmen just have these like really unique, like almost like Dick Tracy villain kind of faces. And I think that like adds another layer of like otherworldliness to it, like almost like an inhumanity to it, to them. And just like you feel the weight of like who they are. And like, you know, what these people do with the, you know, dealing with the mob and how they just control everything, and you feel that hopelessness. And I really like the ending, because I hate when movies have like, you know, oh, you know, is this an impossible situation, but it's all worked out, everybody's fine. And like you get kind of that ending, like they kind of win, but they pay a very, very heavy price for it. So I kind of like how you get the best of both worlds there. And as far as like the politics of it go, I can't help but separate it, because I feel like it's such a weird way to present it. Like, it's one thing for Kazan's situation, for him to set himself up as the hero, but for him to make the other side so villainous, you know, it's so strange to me that it doesn't even feel like an apples to apples comparison to me. So like, it's actually easy for me to not think of it that way, because it just doesn't compare to what happened in real life. Like whether you think, you know, again, you know, whatever, like I wasn't there, I don't know what he went through, or what, you know, what he was exposed to, or what, you know, what pressures he felt. But to make, like I said, to make the other side that bad, you know, instead of just trying to make yourself look good, was odd to me. It was an odd choice. But so, like I said, for that reason, I don't even like consider the real world situation, because it doesn't feel like it at all.
I think if that didn't happen, we would have never made the comparison in the first place.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It's only because of like, oh, this is weird. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Cool.
All right. Sounds perfect. Let's get star ratings for this movie. I'm at 4 stars. Spence.
This rewatch bumped up to 4.5. It's almost in my top 20 Best Picture winners. I think it's really fantastic.
Okay, Dylan.
Yeah, this is one I can completely understand why it's on this list for one. I think it's great. I don't quite have the personal connection to it as I do with my other 5-star ones, but it's very close to 5 stars. I'll give it 4.5.
Okay, Kirk.
I'm at 4.
Okay, and Payson.
I feel weird giving 3 of these in a week, but I really love this movie. I also give it 5. I think it's just a phenomenally well done movie.
It was a really great week.
Yeah, it really was. We'll see. That won't continue. Before we go into the ranking thing, everybody get your papers and stuff. I will read off the movies for the next week that we will be doing this, or next month. We will be at 71 through 75. We will have Some Like It Hot, Princess Bride, Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, The Shining, and Who Framed Roger Rabbit. I'm in pain. But overall, we're here. Should be fine. My favorite Lord of the Rings movie, so I won't be too upset with that. Okay. So you're going to write on your board or paper what you want in the 5th spot between Chef, Singin' in the Rain, Mulholland Drive, the other 2 movies, On the Waterfront and The Prestige. Couldn't remember for a second. Okay.
Wait, sorry, we're saying least favorite?
Yeah.
This is number 5, what you wanted the 5th
Gotcha,
spot.
gotcha. Okay.
Just want to make sure you have
Right,
it.
your
And
favorite.
I will break ties, but I will do it begrudgingly. Kirk.
I had to look up the correct spelling, but Mulholland Drive.
Okay. Payson.
Chef.
Dylan.
Chef.
I may have to break this
Yeah.
first thing.
Damn it.
Spence.
I knew this was going to happen. Mulholland Drive.
We work for you. We do so much.
Well, so does
Mulholland Drive's last. Sorry. But I will just make this quick and easy. Chef will be in the next spot because just make it one.
Oh.
I think that's fair. So no one gets a higher spot. So now we're voting for the 3rd place. Singin' in the Rain, Singin' in the Rain, The Prestige, or On the Waterfront. Do you remember what episode Doubt was a part of?
That was
Weeks ago?
2 episodes ago,
Yeah.
I think.
Was that with All the President's Men?
I believe so, yeah.
I don't care if this is still.
Just making sure. Okay, we're going to start with Payson.
Prestige.
Not even close. Spence.
On the Waterfront.
Dylan. I know your name.
The Prestige.
Closer. That's correct. Kirk.
I said Singing in the Rain. If you can see that, if you can see that or not.
So the Prestige. Okay, so top movie, On the Waterfront, or Singing in the Rain. You'll vote for your number 1 spot. The final. Because if you vote for the 2, then we know what the 1 is, and there's no point in that. I gotta pick a panel still for next month. So.
Just do the same panel.
I was gonna, before I realized it was next episode, I was gonna request to be on the one with Some Like It Hot, but
Yeah, that would
come back if you like.
This is a good panel. I might have these guys.
This is a good panel. I'm okay if you guys would like to do it. You can message me after. Number 1, we will go with Spence.
Singing in the Rain.
Dylan.
Singing in the Rain.
Kirk.
On the Waterfront.
Payson.
It was my number 1 going into this movie. Happy was number 1 this week. Singing in the Rain.
Kirk,
Cool with that.
famously in this show, disappointed.
It's
here.
We're picking split hairs
Okay,
this week.
so that is the list. I want to do this again by reading off the next week just to make sure everybody knows what they can watch. Some Like It Hot, The Princess Bride, Lord of the Rings, Two Towers, The Shining, and Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Should be a lot of fun. Me and Kirk love The Shining, so we'll at least have a positive on that one. And I think Princess Bride's going to be fun. And something like, there's good ones. I'm not a big fan of Who Framed Roger Rabbit, but maybe a rewatch will work. So we'll see you on the next episode. Thank you all. Thanks you for this great panel. Peace.